So we know that the success to any startup is just repeatable sales. And that's specifically the question we're going to be tackling today, which is how to build a repeatable sales engine. Hi, everyone. My name is Shuo Chen. I am a former founder, now investing in founders and teaching founders at Berkeley and Stanford. And we're going to be answering one of the top questions from our Decode community, which is the largest founder community co-hosted across Berkeley and Stanford, around how to build repeatable sales engines. As a board member here at Decode, I've had the opportunity to meet and work with many of the founders in this community. And time again, we always hear this question of, well, we know that ramping up sales is the ultimate way to succeed in building the startup. But how do we build not just a one-time successful sales engine, but a repeatable system? And that's really what we're going to be diving into today. So without further ado, let's dive on right in. Before I get into the content, just one quick announcement. The Decode Annual Conference is back. If you want to access our latest content with industry thought leaders and get access to intimate roundtable discussions with these speakers, please do check out more about the conference down below. We'll hyperlink it if you want to learn more about how to get involved. So with that, let's get on right into the content for today, which is really focused on building a repeatable sales engine. So first tactic for today is to ruthlessly focus and say no to the wrong customers. You might think, especially as an early startup founder, that building a good sales pipeline is all about getting on board as many customers as possible. But actually, the real key to success here is just focusing like insane. And that means having to do the hardest thing, which is to say no. This is where in the super early days, you want to focus by doing a couple of things. You want to start by prioritizing design partners. If you're in the really early days of just building out your product, you want to figure out who are the best design partners to help me learn how to further tailor this product for my earliest customers. And you want to target these early adopters by looking for what can they provide me that will help me build with a strategic advantage against any other competitors? So by working with this particular design partner or this particular early adopter, it's going to allow me to learn and tailor and focus my product so that my competition can't catch up as easily. This is where, of course, you want to continue to define your ideal customer profile. In fact, we did a whole video just about how to define your ideal customer profile. You can check that out linked below. But you want to do one further step on top of just defining what your ICP or your ideal customer profile looks like. You want to actually maximize for repeatability. So you want to ask questions like, do they share and experience similar pain points? Do they share similar workflows? Are they buying for similar outcomes that are high in return on investment for them? Would the same messaging convert all of these customers or only a select portion of these? And once you identify these similarities and start to identify patterns across all of your customers, this is where you can then start to go into next step, which is you want to pick the top 2 to 3 buyer personas among all of your highest intent leads. And this is going back to the topic of this tactic, which is focus relentlessly. And that means that other than the top 2 to 3 buyer personas you've picked with high intent, you want to ignore the rest, even if they're willing to pay. The questions you can ask to help you kind of figure out who the right personas to prioritize are, you can ask questions like, if the product can serve anyone, who is it deliberately not right for right now? So who is not going to have the highest conversion when they come and look at the way that the product currently is? And that forces you to pick out the top 2 to 3 that this product is absolutely right for right now. And this is where you want to develop very deep expertise about each of the personas, their pain points, what successful outcome looks like for them. And that allows you to showcase your product and tailor it in every single touch point, from the very initial time you reach out in a cold email all the way to when you do a final demo to try to convert these into paying customers. You want to make sure you understand this persona deeply, their pain points, and what are successful outcomes for them so that you can tailor every single step of the sales funnel for them. And this is also where, based on the answer to this question that you asked, hey, who is this product not right for in its current form? This allows you to actually shape the messaging of any sort of content you do, digital marketing you do, even featured case studies you have on your website, or even events like virtual workshops that you might host around these buyer personas, because you definitely want to avoid generic messaging. The worst thing that a startup can do is to position themselves to be for everyone, because when you're for everyone, you're for no one. So every single person would come onto this website, look at what you're designing for, and it sounds so generic that they're like, well, this must not be me. So last tip here, if you're trying to figure out, have I focused relentlessly enough? Then you look at the messaging and say, well, who exactly is the persona this is going to attract? And if you say, well, this could apply technically for a lot of people, it's probably not specific enough. And if you look at it and say, hey, this is going to attract these specific personas and turn away everybody else, that's actually a good thing, because that's how you relentlessly focus. So in tactic 1, this is all around focusing and saying no to the wrong customers, at least at the beginning. And you do so by prioritizing people who can be your design partners and early adopters so they can provide you that strategic advantage against competition. You want to maximize for repeatability and patterns across all the potential customer profiles you've identified in this ideal customer profile exercise. And you pick the top 2 to 3 buyer personas with the highest intent and ignore the rest for now so you can focus just on your top buyer personas. That leads us into tactic 2, which is all around building a sales recipe. What does that mean? So this is where, in order to build a repeatable sales engine or a system, you want to make sure to understand what works. This is where you want to map out the buyer's journey through 4 main phases. 1 is awareness, 2 is interest, 3 is evaluation, and 4 is conversion. So some of these are quite self-explanatory, but let me tell you some of the specific questions you would ask to figure this out. So phase 1 is awareness. So how do the perfect prospects for your product first discover you? You want to figure out if they're an amazing target audience for you. How do they find you? What are the channels? What is the messaging that attracts them? And how can you take that and make it happen even more often and on a repeated basis? So you can backtrack through all the users you have right now and figure out, how did they learn about you ever for the very first time? And step 2 in phase 2 in this buyer journey is interest. What turns just a casual look into actual genuine curiosity about your product? Most people learn about you and they're like, hey, this sounds interesting, let me check them out. But what turns this into more serious intent? Phase 3 is evaluation. So when do people who are just casually browsing turn into serious buyers? Step 4 is conversion. What is the final push that turns maybes into yeses? At the end of the day, if we're building a successful startup, you always want fast yeses and not long maybes. So what is the ultimate kicker that converts people from a maybe into a yes? You want to understand each of these 4 steps along the way so that you can build a repeatable process. How you get more people to become aware of you, to become interested in you, to evaluate you and become serious, and then eventually convert into a serious buyer. So you want to map this out so that you can pick out all the right things to do along the way to build a repeatable system. And keep in mind, every single win is something that you should analyze. So you should analyze every single win, every single paying customer, or every single user onboarded, so you can reverse engineer what moved things forward, what got people to sign up, what got people to become more serious, what got people to become a paying customer, what moved the deal forward through each stage, what were the key elements that mattered, and what were just noise that could have happened, but even if it didn't happen, these people would have converted into customers anyway. And of course, if you only have one or a few, it's hard to identify patterns, but this is where you want to start tracking these signals early on so that as you onboard more and more customers, you can start to see more patterns emerge over time. You want to absolutely turn every single early deal into a learning opportunity. How do you do that? Well, there's a couple of key questions you can ask. 1, which messages hit home? 2, who are the most essential players in the room that you need to engage to close a sale? 3, what is the perfect meeting sequence so that you can get people from interest all the way to converting to a paid customer? 4, how do we maintain momentum before and between every single touch point we have? 5, what deal terms matter the most to these customers? And 6, where do we draw hard lines? What are things that we can move back on and what are things that we're absolutely not willing to negotiate on? Because keep in mind, the first tactic was to focus. And so this last question is important to think about because maybe there are certain things that you don't want to move on for this early focus customer, but there are other less important things to you that you're willing to tailor for. One example of this is if you're building a product and there's too much personalization in here, maybe this is where you draw a hard line and say, hey, we apologize realize we just can't deliver that level of personalization at this particular stage. You want to evaluate where you are in this process. So to summarize, tactic 2 is all about building a repeatable sales recipe that takes you through each of the 4 phases of a buyer's journey, from awareness to interest to evaluation to conversion, and to analyze every win along the way so that you can turn every deal into a learning opportunity by asking all of these questions and tracking signals so you can build this scalable process. And that brings us to tactic number 3, which is all about establishing and tracking metrics. Metrics. These are the most important things that you can think through even in the earliest stages. Because if you want to build a repeatable sales engine, you have to define what this funnel looks like, and you have to be able to identify metrics for each of these stages. So to start tracking metrics, you want to first of all start by very specifically defining what your unique sales funnel looks like. Typically, they fall into 5 stages. Stage 1 is just the number of meetings set. So this is the number of first meetings that you're able to book from driving this top level awareness. And stage 2 is meetings executed. So how many first meetings actually happened? Stage 3 is opportunities qualified. You'll hear people in sales talk about qualified leads a lot. What does that mean? It just means these are the opportunities that meet your qualification criteria. So it means that you need to qualify these individuals. Not every single customer is a customer you want to serve. So you want to build out your qualification criteria over time. Like, does this align with how you define your ideal customer profile? Are these the top buyer personas that you want to be prioritizing right now? Stage 4 is trial or pilot kickoff, if it's applicable to you. You want to make sure that the number of trials or pilots are tracked so you know whether or not the stage is progressing. And of course, that takes us into the last stage 5, which is closed or won deals. These are the deals that are done. So sales funnels typically are tracked through this. Of course, before the sales funnel even started, you're driving awareness and interest into this. But once you're actually in the sales funnel, you're tracking across these 5 stages of meetings set, meetings executed, opportunities qualified, trial or pilot kickoffs, and closed or won deals. Once you have defined this sales funnel, then you can start to really track the data to calculate conversion rates between each of these stages to identify where your biggest bottlenecks are. And you want to, of course, address these big bottlenecks as quickly as possible. Where are you having the lowest conversion rate? Is it that you're just not getting enough meetings set? Therefore, your top of funnel in the sales funnel isn't even enough. Or are you getting a lot of no-shows? So you have a lot of meetings set, but meetings executed is very low. Or out of the meetings executed, the opportunity qualified are very low. That's a really good sign that your marketing message to drive high-level awareness and interest is not personalized enough, which is why all the leads that come in are ones that don't meet your qualification criteria. They don't align with your ideal customer profile, and people who are chatting with you are taking up a lot of your time or your team's time, but are not the right initial customers you actually want to be building with because they're not in the top prioritized buyer personas. Or you have qualified meetings, they don't tend to kick off this pilot or trial. It means that perhaps you haven't understood this pain point enough, or you haven't defined the ideal customer profile clearly enough that they're not converting to this trial. Or they've kicked off the trial and they're just not converting into a paid user, in which case perhaps there's something better in terms of designing the pilot process or in terms of tracking metrics along the way to help you improve the pilot experience so it delivers everything that your customer is expecting so that they can actually turn into paid customers. So you can see how in each stage of the funnel, wherever you're seeing lowest conversion, that's the area that you want to target first and actually prioritize fixing so you can address it as quickly as possible. So this third tactic is all around building, essentially finding the right tactics, and tracking all of them along the way to help you figure out what to prioritize right now. And with that, we've talked about the top three tactics for building a repeatable sales engine, with tactic 1 being relentlessly focusing and even turning down the wrong customers. 2, building a scalable sales recipe so that you can map the buyer's journey and repeat this process to figure out what works for you. And tactic 3, establishing and tracking the right metrics so you can go fix any area that is broken. In this process, if you're hoping to learn more about other traps to avoid or other tools you can leverage in this process, please feel free to check out the hyperlink below to read the full newsletter that we have. And of course, if you have any other follow-up questions, please feel free to leave it in the comments below, and we'd love to address it in a future week. With that, if you found this video helpful, please like and please feel free to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this video with other fellow founder friends of yours in the community. And we look forward to seeing you in a future week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Take care.